Hello and welcome back to Hal Tech TV. Today we have the video review for you on the BitFenix Pandora Micro-ATX case, which is a very unique case and has actually produced our longest ever written review at Hal Tech. And it's because of this we have actually revamped the video style, which I hope you like, and also if you wish to skip to any section of the video, I also have put links at the top for you guys to use. So please enjoy the video and let me know what you guys think. The exterior of the Pandora is very striking, but not because of sharp angles and massive grills like most cases currently, but because it's so unique, and I think that's the main reason I like it. Its exterior is taken over by two massive aluminium side panels that curve around the front of the case, and this really forces curves to be the main focal point in its design. On our version we got a window on the left side panel, which again has lovely curved edges with a nice viewing area for a 2.5-inch internal drive mount. I wouldn't recommend using this case without a nice looking SSD being a part of your system, but either way it's a nice touch. Unfortunately the front is glossy, but I can understand why. Had this been matte, I don't see it contrasting as well with the side panels or looking right with the icon hidden behind it. Up top you get two USB 3 ports, headphone and mic jacks, and your power and reset buttons. Now the size of the buttons and the fact they are so distinct from each other is a plus, with a full size reset button being a big bonus too. But the problem is they have a noticeable wobble, and this detracts from the rest of the case. Being a first point of contact, the power buttons just shouldn't feel like the spacebar of a 99p keyboard. Behind all this, however, is a massive grille, and oh, I love grills, especially the circular mesh ones. This is both dust filtered and removable to hide a 120mm exhaust fan up here in the only fan mount on the top, but we'll cover this more on the interior. The bottom doesn't have much to speak of, with only a power supply dust filter, but the back is interesting. With an aluminium wraparound that connects both side panels around the back into one solid piece, you get a little bit of protection for things like your Wi-Fi antenna and stuff like that, but more importantly, the design doesn't end from any angle that you're looking at it from. Now while I didn't have to, you may have to remove this as you install your expansion cards, as it can get in the way from the screw holes, but again I didn't have to. You also get a full-size ATX power supply mount and 5 expansion slots, which are both pleasing to see. But it's round here though that you really notice how thin this case is. Now remember, if you were paying attention at the start of the video, you would have seen how thin this case is. At 160mm thin, you just can't fit an exhaust fan in the back of here. First impressions would be that this case is limited with cooling, and I would be thinking the same. But actually these side panels have a secret function. No, they aren't suicide doors and it's not a transformer, but they do hide the main intake for this case. Going back to the front, we didn't see an ounce of ventilation here, but take the panels off and you see just how much there actually is. This is because behind the front there is two 120mm fan mounts with sliding rails and support for radiators up to 240mm in length. Again, it's filtered and just goes to show that the Pandora's design isn't purely for looks. Onto the interior. So the inside of the case. This interesting mishmash of ideas actually looks really clean, with a big open space and no intrusive drive cages to speak of. The problem is, it almost looks as if there's nothing to speak of. To get the important facts out of the way, this case supports CPU coolers of up to 134mm tall and graphics cards up to 350mm long. Down the bottom of the case we get a nicely done power supply area with some top class rubber mounts, the filtered intake we saw, and a cable shroud to hide the mess from being seen through the window. While it's not a perfect shroud, it's better than nothing and they take full advantage of it, with both that 2.5-inch mount we saw before and also a 3.5-inch drive mount inside it on the bottom of the case. I'd rather not risk my 3.5-inch hard drive's connections by shoving it next to all of the cable mess, but it's there if you want it. The motherboard tray is spacious with 5 expansion slots, a nicely sized CPU cooler cutout, and a lot of space for your graphics cards. To its right we revisit the water cooling support in the front, and from this angle it's easier to see how easy it is to install a closed loop water cooler in here. But be aware, as it isn't top mounted, this will infringe on your GPU length support, and should you go with an extra thick radiator, you may have to remove the power supply shroud too. Compromise seems to be the name of the game here. Up top is the exhaust fan we saw, along with an extremely awkwardly placed 3.5-inch drive mount and all of your I/O cables to sort through. I do actually wish BitFenix had said screw it here and gone with 2 fan mounts, scrapped the second 3.5-inch drive bay and said that the Pandora is a design piece to be seen, not heard. I always recommend that your data should be stored out of sight in a separate NASA server anyway. Just think about having a 3.5-inch drive bay spinning up right next to a grill like this, not a pleasing sound, and thinking about cable managing such a location makes me want to cry as well. Talking of cable management, it initially looks well organised with 2 holes in the power supply shroud and a bunch around the rest of the case. Unfortunately, it all falls apart from here on in. To achieve the Pandora's unique look, BitFenix did a few things here. They thinned the case, scrapping space behind the motherboard tray almost entirely, and they used a new style of side panel connection. This style of connection is a genius way of keeping you from touching the aluminium panels too much and gives you a tool-free way to open the left side panel should you wish to fiddle with something. But round the back, put a little amount of pressure on the right side panel from your cables and the panel just doesn't stay on. This is purely a combined failure from the designs totally clashing. Because of this, don't plan on using the cable management for anything big. Buy a modular power supply and spend 90% of your time cable managing your system. Ultimately though, it's situations like this that force you to work harder that produce the most rewarding results. So to me, this is a challenge, not a turn off, but for others it may be the latter. The BitFenix Icon is a very new design feature that they've brought to the game with this case. It really changes what a case is and evolves it into more than just a lump of metal to put everything inside. Now this 2.4-inch screen that hides away when the system is turned off boasts a resolution of 240 by 320 pixels, which isn't bad considering that competes with some phones out there in regards to DPI. How good is it though? To start off with, it's easy to use. You simply plug it in, download the app and drag and drop the image you want onto its desktop icon. Contrast is also good on this screen, but it does have one downside, one that may turn you off, and that is that it bleeds light. If you have a black background on your image, it won't be the same colour as the black on the front panel. If you decide that you don't want the icon, you can actually get this case without the icon, and both come with a physical BitFenix badge to stick on anyway, so you get choice regardless. For me though, I can't help but think of the amazing branding opportunities this creates for anyone who works in the custom systems industry. In summary, the BitFenix Pandora is unique and offers a package that has no competition in the current market. The BitFenix Icon is again unique and uncomparable, but it also raises the price of the BitFenix Pandora to a point in the market that its other features just can't compete in. So really, when it comes to buying this case, depending on the different version that you're buying, it's 2 completely different stories. The exterior of the case pretty much has no flaws worth mentioning, and while the interior was somewhat anticlimactic, if you are willing to put the time in, you can really make something special of this case. Now it's because of this, we gave this case an 82 out of 100 because of its unique features, aesthetics and its ample cooling support. If you wish to check out the even more in-depth written review or even just the breakdown of the rating that we gave it, you can find the link to that in the description box below. If you wish to support us, please subscribe. Also, bookmark the HalTech website for the latest news, videos, reviews and more. And also please head over to the Facebook page and give us a like there. Anyways, I'm Hal Thompson, you've been watching another HalTech TV video and I'll see you in the next video.